Hello everyone, it is me. I am back. I haven't posted a YouTube video in a while. I've done my podcast interviews and stuff like that, but I haven't really sat down to record something in a hot minute, and I was thinking about it and I was like, what's going on there? Why am I not booktubing as much? And I don't know, I just feel super busy. I've been reading a lot, but I've been having I don't know what I want to create aside from my podcast right now. So yeah, I don't know. Having a weird relationship with the old booktube, but I'm still here, I'm still doing it, so let's hop into what I want to talk about today. So, I'm currently reading some books, and then I also have a bunch of books that I want to get to this summer. I have a bunch of galleys in a stack here, a lot of random books as well that aren't necessarily galleys, but I wanted to make a video just kind of going over what I want to read this summer, a lot of front list, some back list, just books that are top of mind that I'm dying to read whenever I pick up something next. And so yeah, it's a summer TBR, what I'm currently reading, and hopefully I put some books on your radar. And also some of these authors are going to be coming on my podcast as well, so I'll let you know if that's happening. And yeah, let me know what you're looking forward to reading this summer. Let me know what's on your radar, if I missed anything here. This is not necessarily a comprehensive list, but I was like, I want to film a YouTube video. So I wanted to just put together a pile of books that are screaming at me and talk about them kind of casually. So what am I reading now, you ask? I am currently reading 2666 by Roberto Bolaño. I've been reading this since March. I'm doing a group buddy read of this with the Center for Fiction, led by Samuel Rutter, and I'm currently on page 434, I believe. So I'm on part 4, the part about the crimes, and it's a doozy of a section. It's sort of the one that is very famous in regards to this novel, being the part where it's a list, a very long list of a bunch of crimes that are committed in Mexico. Femicide, crimes against women. I'm not even going to go into everything I think about this book. I will say this book has challenged me significantly, and also I think it's excellent and very weird. One of the most original and unique books I've ever read in my life. I'm so glad that I have a group to read it with, and I'm so glad that I've read it so far. Very intrigued to see where it's going to go in the end. 5 different parts, all doing different things to tell one story. It was in the lead up to Bolaño's death. It's really interesting, and I think I'm going to do a separate video review of this if I'm able to wrap my head around it and do a video. But let me know if you'd be interested in that. Full thoughts to come in a future wrap-up, but that is 2666. Next, I am reading Transit by Rachel Cusk. This one, I just wanted to read some more Rachel Cusk. If you can see right here, I own almost all of Rachel Cusk's books, at least all of them that have been published in this edition. The picador, white, trim, gorgeous photography, editions. I was like, I need to read more Cusk this summer. I always say that I love her work, but I only read 2 books, so I was like, Transit's next. I'm 50 pages in, and it fucking slaps. Who's surprised? Not me. She is incredible. Her prose is just she's just a fucking writer. You know what I mean? She's a writer, and I love that. So, full thoughts to come on this too. All right, next, I might get a little controversial right now. I'm currently reading Septology by Jan Fosse, I believe you say. This one, so the last book in this Septology, A New Name, was a short lister for the International Booker Prize. I'm currently buddy reading this with 2 friends on Instagram, and I wanted to tackle a bunch of big books this year, if you can't tell, and this is one of them. And I just read the first 186 pager, the Septology, the first part of it, and I don't know what I think, but I've only seen incredibly praisey rave reviews of this book. And so, I don't know. It's challenging, it's very stream of consciousness and rhythmic, but the problem that I'm having with it is that it's incredibly repetitious. The repetition here, there's no sentence breaks, there's no little paragraph breaks often except for dialogue. None of that is bothering me. The style of that is not really bothering me, but what is bothering me is how often in the stream of consciousness style, the main character is repeating things and constantly just saying the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm does this book need to be this long to get the point across? I understand what it's doing stylistically, but it's interesting in regards to its ideas on art and religion and God and thinking about all of that. But I will say I'm having a hard time getting into it. I might DNF her. I'm going to finish The Other Name. I'm currently halfway through that section, the last section, so part 2, and then I'll see what I think about this. And then finally, I need to start this next. It's The Birthday Party by Laurent Mauvignier. It's a translated French literary thriller that I'm reading for my book club, Reading the Room book club. We meet every month. I pick a book. It's part of my Patreon. It's $3 now for everyone if you'd like to join and be a part of the Zoom discussion, and then I record the Zoom discussion. It's available for all Patreon members. If you'd like to watch it in the future, or if you miss a discussion or something, that is there. But we're going to be talking about this one. It sounds right up my alley. It sounds kind of sinister, a little bit of like thriller-iness, but I hear it's not really like horror at all. But it sounds suspenseful and interesting and should be good. Okay, so now going into the books that are on my summer TBR, books that I'm looking forward to. I'm going to go with my stack, and then I'll go into books that I don't have with me, and then we'll call it. First up, I have Open Throat by Henry Hoke. This one comes out June 6th from MCD FSG, one of my favorite publishers. What I know about this is it has a queer mountain lion as its narrator. Interesting, kind of stylistically. And I've only heard truly incredible things about this book from writers that I love. Friends have also loved this. Like, not a single bad thing to be said about it. It's very quick as well, so I'm excited to read this when I want something short and queer and new and original. So that is Open Throat. Next, I have Rouge by Mona Awad. She's one of my favorite writers. Bunny is like an all-time favorite book of mine. I had her on the podcast, and she's coming on again for this one. We're going to do like a Halloween follow-up situation, so keep an eye out for that on the podcast. But so this one, it says it's a horror-tinged gothic fairy tale about a lonely dress shop clerk whose mother's unexpected death sends her down a treacherous path in pursuit of youth and beauty. Can she escape her mother's fate and find a connection that is more than skin deep? So Mona Awad using a horror bent taking on beauty sounds right up my alley. So I cannot wait for this. Gorgeous Stunnelina cover. Like, oh my god. Love that. That's coming soon. Cannot wait to dive into that one. Next, I have Lucky Dogs by Helen Schulman. This one was sent to me, and this one, first of all, I adore this cover. I really, really like it. It caught my eye as soon as I saw it on Instagram one day. But then also, this one has blurbs from Katie Kitamura, Alexander Kleeman, Jennifer Egan. So yeah, this one, it says the paths of two women on opposite ends of a high-profile sex abuse scandal set them on a devastating collision course. So this one sounds kind of like a literary thriller of sorts. And the end of this blurb says, Lucky Dogs asks and answers a shattering question. How could one woman so utterly betray another? So when I want plot, maybe like a beach read kind of style, this will be on deck for me. Okay, next I have Sucker by Daniel Hornsby. This one comes out July 11th. And I say that because a lot of books are publishing on July 11th. So get your purses ready, get your coins ready, because I'm going to be spending a lot of money that day, I think. I also have a lot of authors like lined up for podcast interviews that are coming out on that day. So I have to space them out throughout July. So keep an eye out for Reading the Room if you're interested in any of these books. So this one sounds really interesting. This one is a Silicon Valley satire. It says Bad Blood meets Succession in the sharp-toothed satire of Silicon Valley and the 1%. My understanding is that this takes a turn near like the middle or something. I saw that on Twitter, and I think that there's vampires involved. Could be wrong. That's my suspicion. Or I might have seen that somewhere. Yeah, this one sounds really fun too. So, and then I have another Silicon Valley book in the stack. I will grab it. Also publishing on July 11th. And that is Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter. This one, similar. I think it's less satire, but it follows a woman in Silicon Valley at a startup. But this one sounds cool because it has another like horror, surreal element going on. And it says, though isolated, Cassie is never alone. From her earliest memory, a miniature black hole has been her constant companion. It feeds on her depression and anxiety, its size changing in relation to her distress. So I love that idea of using a sort of surrealist element to sort of explore what's going on here in terms of like late capitalism, tech culture. It should be a good one as well. So July 11th, this one I expect to be everywhere. And Sarah's very funny on Twitter, seems very kind as well. So that is Ripe. Can't wait for that. Hello everyone, Jalen editing here. I just realized I forgot 2 books, so I want to cover them here. And the first one is my June book club pick, which is Mating by Norman Rush. And some exciting stuff going on for June. So my book club is going to be meeting on Zoom on July 9th, which is a Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, which is like the usual date and time. So we're going to have that discussion of this book. However, the following week, I'm going to be recording a podcast episode with a very special guest, one of my favorite writers, author of one of my favorite books ever. Lauren Euler, author of Fake Accounts, is going to be joining me for a podcast episode available for all about Mating by Norman Rush. So join the Patreon if you'd like to submit questions for Lauren and I to consider in that podcast episode, and we'll talk about them there. But otherwise, everyone will have access to that podcast episode. So join me in reading Mating by Norman Rush. This one won the National Book Award, I believe, in 1991. This is a book Twitter favorite. And so it's going to be a really fun time. Also, another one that's coming out on July 11th. It's All Night Pharmacy. This one I've seen all over the place already. But this one kind of gives depressed woman moving style vibes, disaster woman vibes a little bit. So it says, All Night Pharmacy is an intoxicating portrait of a young woman consumed with unease over how a person should be. As she attempts sobriety and sexual embodiment, she must decide whether to search for her estranged sister or allow her to remain a relic of the past. Sisterhood dynamic, addiction, finding yourself, all good things. Next, I have a book that was kindly sent to me by the author and the publisher. It's an indie press called Stalking Horse Press. It is called Pure Cosmos Club by Matthew Binder. First of all, I saw this cover on Twitter and I was investigating, and this sounds so good. So it's another satire. So I'm having like a satire summer, I guess. It says Matthew Binder takes surreal aim at the poses and pretensions of high art and fashion. So I might have to like do a binge of satire books that are in the stack, but this one comes out tomorrow, May 16th. So when you're seeing this, probably today, this is available. And yeah, I'm excited to check this one out. So this is a cover interest, but I think it's going to also slap. So very excited for that. Next, I have a book called Hangman by Maya Binyam. This one comes out August 8th from FSG, my favorite publisher. I will go on record and say it. This one sounds cool. So this one says, An exile boards a plane in search of his dying brother. When he arrives, he finds that he doesn't recognize the country or anyone in it. His journey will cost him his passport, his savings, his luggage, his heart, his speech, and his will. Hangman is an enthralling first novel about retribution, diaspora, and the impossibility of Black refuge in America and beyond. This one's, I feel like this is going to give like big brain energy for sure, but another one with gorgeous covers. I mean, the stack, I'm often compelled by a cover, you know what I mean? Okay, next up, I have this pretty big book, kindly sent to me by the publisher. It is called Foster Date Explores the Cosmos by Nash Jenkins. I forget when this publishes. This one has a blurb from Julia May Jonas. Fun fact, Julia May Jonas was the first author on my podcast, on my author interview series for Vladimir. And so I saw she blurbed this. Hold a special place in my heart, that book. I love that book so much. But anyways, this one sounds kind of similar. This one says, a searing novel about a tragic scandal at an American prep school told in the form of a literary investigation. Yeah, this is a big one. Another plotty kind of literary thriller situation going on here, I think. So this one kind of also sounds like The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis, like kind of similar vibe of like adolescence, masculinity, prep school vibe. So yeah, this one sounds really fun. Next, I have The Look Back Window by Kyle Dillon Hertz, and I am so excited about this for many reasons, but namely, this is queer law me, you know what I mean, going on here. This one sounds really heavy. It's a debut novel about trauma, but it's also about the law and being queer, and it just sounds like something that's right up my alley as a queer lawyer. So that's A Look Back Window, out August 1st. And Kyle is coming on the podcast as well. He seems very cool. He's a really interesting Instagram account that I followed for a while. And yeah, he reached out to the right person because it sounds like incredible. Yeah, I can't wait to read it later this summer. Okay, next up, I want to read the new Fernanda Melchor book, This Is Not Miami. What's interesting though is I've seen some people reading this, but I haven't seen like a single thought about it. I just realized I might have missed it, but I'm just saying I haven't seen anything said about this, which is interesting. This is like a collection of nonfiction based stories, which is different from Melchor, but she's one of my favorite writers. You all know I've been standing hurricane season since I started this channel, so I'll be reading this when I want something slim, nonfiction, when I'm ready to dabble in more Melchor. So it could be a good follow-up to the Bologna that I'm reading right now too, or maybe too similar, I don't know. All right, next up I have this book called Cousins, which I don't really remember what it's about, but a blurb on the front says it's a novel of depraved genius. I love depraved genius. Oh, I flipped it over and I remember why I want to read this really bad. So it has blurbs from Mariana Enriquez, Alexander Kleeman, Catherine Lacey, and the author of Mona. I forget how to pronounce her name, so I'm not going to try it here. But all good signs, all authors that I've read and enjoyed in the past. But this one I think is a really dark book. Cousins is a story of 4 women from an impoverished, dysfunctional family in La Plata, Argentina, who are forced to suffer through a series of ordeals, including disfigurement, illegal abortions, miscarriages, sexual abuse, and murder, narrated by a daughter whose success as a painter offers her a chance to achieve economic independence and help her family as best she can. Sounds bleaker than I remember reading last time. So yeah, this sounds good. Another slim book out from Soft School Press, which is another favorite of mine, and very like small margin, so it seems like it's a pretty quick little read in quick chapters. So next up I have a book called Ordinary Notes by Christina Sharp. I bought this when I was in Michigan recently. I saw Jackson Howard, who was an editor at FSG, again, my favorite publisher. I think he said it's his favorite book of the year so far. It's a collection of 248 notes that gather meaning as we read them, and it says, Ordinary Notes explores profound questions about loss and the shapes of Black life that emerge in the wake. This one kind of seems like a book that I really loved, which is Field Study by Shayla Sabri. Underrated gem of a book that more of you should read. I've been saying that for a while now, but it stands. It's a really excellent book, but yeah, this one sounds kind of similar to that, so I'll be reading this as well. Next, I have the new Elle Nash, Deliver Me. This one sounds so good. This one comes out not until October, but I'm reading it sooner than that for reasons. The podcast. This one I think is a piece of body horror, and I loved Elle Nash's gag reflex. She's a really exciting writer. When I read Gag Reflex, I was gagged in queer parlance. That book really shook me, and I could tell that she's a writer to watch just from reading one book of hers. I was like, yeah, Elle Nash, she seems like right up my alley of like literary horror and also just doing interesting things formally, all things that I'm really intrigued by. So yeah, I hear this one's pretty gross by the end of it, so it should be fun. Next, I have a short story collection called Witness by Jamel Brinkley, FSG, again, with a blurb from Justin Torres, who I'm going to get into this summer as well. I just remembered I don't have his book yet, but it's Blackouts. I want to read that really bad if I can get a galley of it. I don't have it now, but he seems like a writer that I would really like. So, and this is a collection of stories, 10 stories, that's an elegant, insistent narrative of actions taken and not taken. What does it mean to take action, to bear witness? What does it cost? And so these seem like they're going to be really pacey and using escalation and short stories, which I really like. And so I'm really intrigued by this and excited by it, and I love this cover too. And the UK cover is banging as well. I'll put that here if I remember, but yeah. Next, I have a collection of criticism. It's called Affinities by Brian Dillon. This is a writer I've wanted to read for a while now. And yeah, I really enjoyed the New York Review of Books publication recently, Seduced by Story. It was one of my favorite books last year by Peter Brooks, and so I wanted to read more NYRB nonfiction about art and literature and stuff. So this one explores images and artists Brian Dillon is drawn to and analyzes the attraction. What does it mean to claim affinity with the picture? What do feelings of affinity imply about the experience of art and of the world? And I myself have also been thinking about this question of like, why do I feel so compelled by certain artists that I read? Why can I not put into words sometimes what I think about things that I am drawn to, and how do I articulate those things better? So hopefully this book can weigh in on that question, but sounds fun. Next up, I have the new Hong Kong. Everyone's been reading this right now. I'm intrigued. I did not read The Vegetarian, but I hear that's also great, and this cover is gorgeous as well. But some translated fiction for the summer sounds fun. Next, I have a debut novel, I Will Greet the Sun Again. This one comes out August 1st, and Catherine Lacey actually recommended this book on the podcast, and the publisher reached out to me about this one, wanting me to cover this book, and I'm so excited about it because it's a queer debut novel, and it says it's a stunning, tender novel about being lost in one's family, one's country, and one's skin. I Will Greet the Sun Again stares down the brutality of being a queer kid in America and an immigrant in an unwelcoming land. I'm very excited to dive into this. I think this is going to be everywhere. Keep an eye out for that. Next, I somehow got my hands on the new Ann Patchett. Don't know how I did it. I love Ann Patchett. I think Commonwealth is one of the, I still to this day, I think about Commonwealth and I think about how she did what she did in that book, and I'm like, how the fuck did she do that? You know, it's one of those books that just blew my mind, and how she was able to compact so much about a family saga in a tiny book. Usually we have the sweeping family sagas that are 500 plus pages, but that one is not, but does even more than I think some longer family sagas have done. So, new Ann Patchett, we will be reading. Okay, next I have Small Worlds by Caleb Azuma Nelson. This is his follow-up to the debut Open Water, which has been a BookTube, Bookstagram darling. It's really a popular book, I think, that I've seen on Book Talk too, in the literary fiction circles. So I'm really excited to see what he does in this follow-up. Very exciting, up-and-coming writer. So I think this one is also about music again. Yeah, so I'm excited for this. Okay, I think this is the last physical book I have in my stack, but it's The Lights by Ben Lerner. I love Ben Lerner. I still need to read The Topeka School. It's jumping at me, so that should be in this list as well. But yeah, it's a new collection of poems from Ben Lerner, and honestly, I'm really hoping I can get him on the pod, y'all. I don't know how to contact Mr. Lerner, but please manifest for me. Yeah, I would love to chat with Ben Lerner. I'm a little, I don't know if I want to, actually. I'm a little intimidated by him, but I think since I am very preoccupied with questions about metafiction and autofiction on this channel, and he's been an influence for some of my favorite writers, I think it would be a really fun conversation, and he's fucking brilliant and incredible, show-stopping, amazing. So let's manifest, y'all. Can I get Ben Lerner on the pod? Let's see. I feel weird saying that stuff in videos, but Who cares? I have been trying my goddamn hardest to get a galley of The Guests by Emma Cline. I do have an e-galley of this book, right? But it's Emma Cline. Y'all know. I've been going hard for Daddy, the story collection, since that shit published that day. I inhaled that collection. Emma Cline, she is incredible, and I've been so excited about this book that I wanted a physical if I could get my hands on it, and I wasn't able to, y'all. I was really defeated in my adventure trying to get that galley, which I'm sad about. But it comes out tomorrow. I'm going to my bookstore. I have my gift card ready. I'll be buying it and I'll be reading it. And I'm very excited because I've seen some controversial takes on it from friends on here. I've heard some people didn't love it, but I've seen closer to publication some writers that I really enjoy really liked it. So I have high hopes still. I have hope Emma Cline's going to come through. I love her work. The new Megan Nolan. I love Acts of Desperation. The new Eliza Clark. And that's about it. So let me know what's on your list. What are you reading this summer? What are you currently reading? Let's catch up. I haven't been on here in a while. But yeah, I hope you find something in this list that you enjoy. Keep an eye out for future podcast interviews. Yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye.